Gamla Uppsala in Sweden is home to a series of incredible massive burial mounds that hold the remains of high-status individuals from the pre-Viking Vendel era. But how were they built? First, let's look at a bit of the history of this ancient ritual landscape. Gamla Uppsala, one of Scandinavia's most iconic historical sites, emerged as a centre of power during the Vendel Age, 540 to 800 AD, though its significance stretches back even further. By the 6th century, the area had transformed from an agricultural settlement into a focal point for early Swedish kings. Around 600 AD, significant developments marked Gamla Uppsala as a site of extraordinary importance. Monumental burial mounds, now symbols of the area, were constructed to honour the royal dead, and an immense wooden hall was built alongside 2 grand rows of wooden pillars, reflecting its status as a political and religious site. Gamla Uppsala became a thriving centre for governance, trade and ritual. Villages with farms and workshops sprang up to support the ritual centre. The location was widely recognised as the seat of the Swedish kings, where assemblies, markets and religious events drew people from near and far. Its importance was not only political but also spiritual, serving as a sacred site long before the Vendel Age. Gamla Uppsala's rise during this period laid the foundations for its role as a key site in Swedish history and mythology. So let's look at the construction process of the ritual burial mounds, which folklore suggests are the burial places of gods like Thor, Odin and Freyr, but in reality are the resting places of the remains of high-status individuals. The mounds are extraordinary burial sites, most likely constructed to honour members of the royal dynasty. The East Mound, thought to be the resting place of an important figure, possibly a queen, was built with great care and ceremony. The construction of the East Mound began by excavating the ridge from the sides. Earth was piled up around the edges to make the pit even deeper. The bottom of the pit was prepared with a layer of sand and clay which was packed firmly and levelled. This clay layer, around 10 centimetres thick, was topped with a foundation of stones. On this prepared surface, a timber burial chamber was built, measuring approximately 10 metres square. The body was carried into the chamber where grave goods were carefully arranged around it, likely following a ritualised pattern. Once everything was ready, the funeral pyre was lit. A strong draught helped the fire to burn fiercely and rapidly, generating intense heat. After several days, once the pyre had cooled, the remains of bones and ashes were collected. The grave chamber was reopened and the remains were carefully arranged. A small pit was dug in the cleaned platform, where an urn containing the remains was placed. Over this, a cairn of large stones was built, measuring 15 metres in diameter and 2 to 3 metres in height. Beneath this cairn, a small stone slab was inset. Finally, the mound was constructed over the grave, a process that required the labour of many workers. The West Mound was constructed slightly differently, and is believed to be for the burial of a king. It began with the excavation of the ridge from the sides. The excavated earth and gravel were piled into a ring to form a large pit. The base of the pit was prepared with a platform of sand, followed by a layer of clay 5 centimetres thick, which was levelled to provide a firm foundation. Within the pit, a structure of long tree trunks was erected to create the burial chamber. The walls of the chamber were sealed with clay to make them secure. The body was then brought into the chamber, and the grave goods were carefully arranged around it, again likely following a specific ritual. The funeral pyre was then lit, again with a strong draught helping the fire to take hold. The flames burned intensely and rapidly, producing tremendous heat. After several days, when the pyre had cooled, the remains of the bones and ashes were collected, and the grave chamber was reopened again. Stones were carefully placed around the collected bones to form a small cairn at the centre of the grave. The mound was then constructed to cover the grave. The cairn, located precisely at the centre of the mound, marked the king's final resting place. Heilung saga outlines some of the religious underpinnings of this practice. It read, "Thus he, Odin, established by law that all dead men should be burned, and their belongings laid with them upon the pile, and the ashes be cast into the sea or buried in the earth. Thus said he, everyone will come to Valhalla with the riches he had with him upon the pile, and he would also enjoy whatever he himself had buried in the earth. For men of consequence, a mound should be raised to their memory, and for all other warriors who had been distinguished for manhood, a standing stone, which custom remained long after Odin's time." It was their faith that the higher the smoke arose in the air, the higher he would be raised whose pilot was, and the richer he would be, the more property that was consumed with him." End quote. The sheer scale of the mounds at Gamla Uppsala are a staggering sight to behold, and the process and mythology around their construction offers powerful insights into this culture and its funerary rites. But that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe, and you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description or via YouTube Super Thanks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.